Hello everybody, welcome to my lesson for 12th grade. I'm so excited to teach you the present simple tense in today's lesson. My goal is for you to understand how and when to use this grammar by end of the lesson. Let's get started. Present simple tense usages. Facts, habits and routines. Near future. We use it to talk about facts, truths, and generalizations. Let's look at some examples. Pigs don't fly. That's a fact. Everybody knows that pigs don't fly. Cats are better than dogs. Now it, you may not agree with. This is my truth. I am making a generalization about cats and dogs in these examples. And finally, it's cold in winter. This really depends on where you live, but for a lot of people, or let's say for most people, it's cold in winter, so that's the truth for some people. Now let's look back and see what verb I used the present simple tense. For the first sentence, I used the negative of do not. And you will notice I used the contraction and put these two words together to make it don't. Cats are better than dogs. I use the be verb are to talk about cats because cats is plural. And finally, it's cold in winter. Here I use the be verb is again, but I use the contraction to be combined in it and is and made it. Let's move on to the next usage. We also use the present simple tense to talk about habits and routines, so things and actions that happens regularly. Let's look at the examples. I always eat lunch at noon. You will notice I use the it verb always because I'm talking about something that I do regularly. I always eat lunch at noon. So I use the present simple tense, and here I use the verb eat. Next example says, Sid starts work at 9 a.m. daily. Again, it's something that happens regularly. Sid goes to the work at 9 a.m. every day. Now you'll notice I put the blue line under the S in the start. Can you figure out why? Well, remember that when the subject of the sentence is he, she, or it, we need to add an s or es to end of the verbs. In the present simple tense, said is a he, so we need to add an s. And the last examples, they study English every Monday. Again, every Monday means that they do it regularly, and that's why we use the present simple tense, they study. So as a review, remember we use the present simple tense to talk about habits and routines that happen regularly. Let's move on. Speakers actually use the present simple tense to talk about something that will happen in the near future. Now this can be a little confusing, but we are not using the future tense, we are using the present simple tense. It's possible to do that, and it's actually common for people to do that. Again, for something that will happen in the near future, let's look at this example. Lisa arrives on Sunday. Again, the near future, Sunday, so I use the present simple tense. I added an s at the end of arrive because Lisa, the subject is a she. We start work soon. Again, the near future soon. So I use the present simple. Verb start. And finally, my students come tomorrow. This is something that will happen in the near future. So I use the verb come. So remember, it is possible and it's common to use the present simple tense to talk about something that will happen in the near future. Let's go to the next usage. Let's talk about a possible negative usage for the present simple tense, and that's do not and does not. The first example says, Mike eats bread. I put an S at the end of it because the subject is Mike, which is a he. Now that's not negative statement. What happens when I want to turn it into a negative statement? Well, I change it. I like this. Mike doesn't eat bread. So you will notice that I don't move the S here. Okay, instead I added doesn't. I took does and not and turned it into contraction by combining the two and making it doesn't. So if the subject is he, she, or it, we use does not or doesn't to make it negative. You swim well. In this case, I don't need to put an S at the end of swim because the subject is you. If you want to make this sentence negative, I use don't. You don't swim well. I use the contraction for do and not. I combine them to make don't. So if the subject is I, you, we, or they, we use do not or don't. So to review, do not and does not or don't and doesn't is a possible usage for the negative for present simple tense. Let's continue on. Now I will talk about one possible question form for the present simple tense, and that is by using do or does. So let's look at the example. They live here. That's not a question, right? They live here. In order to turn it into a question, it's really simple. All I have to do is add do to the beginning and add a question mark at the end. Do they live here? So if the subject is I, you, we, or they, simply add do to the beginning of the question. How about this one? He plays soccer. In this statement, the subject is he, and that's why you should know by now. I have an S at the end of play. However, to turn this into a question, I added that at the beginning. Does he play soccer? What you'll notice here is that I no longer have the S at end of play. Instead, I just used that at the beginning. So for a he, she, or it, put that at the beginning and don't worry about putting an S or ES at the end of the verb. So to review, one possible way of forming a question from the present simple tense is using do or does at the beginning. Alright, let's move on. Let's start with the first exercise. In this exercise, I want you to focus on the be verbs. Remember, be verbs in the present simple tense can be, is, am, or are. Take a look at the first sentence. It says, she blank at school. The subject of this sentence is she. What be verb do we use for she? The correct answer is. For the next one, it says, they blank 17 years old. The subject of this sentence is they. What be verb do we use for they? The correct answer is are. The next sentence says, his father blank busy. The subject of this sentence is his father. What subject pronoun do we use for this father? The correct answer is he. Remember, for he, she, the be verb is. Now I want to try to find the mistakes in the sentence. We isn't good friends. Did you find the mistakes? Did you find a mistake? This is mistake. The subject is we and the be verb is are. Therefore, the correct answer is we are not, or the contraction we aren't good friends. The next sentence, can you find the mistake? Are John a student? Think about the subject of this sentence. The subject is John, and John, the subject pronoun is he. Therefore, we don't use are, we use is. Is John a student? And finally, it am a puppy. This one is a big mistake. The subject here is it. What be verb do we use for it? Correct answer is. So we don't say it am a puppy. We say it is a puppy. Correct answer is. Great job. Let's move on to the next exercise. For the next exercise, I want you to think of the other verbs in the present simple. Take a look at the first sentence, he blank. I want you to think of the verb, like his dinner. What do we do to the verb when the subject is he, she, or it? Remember, we add an s. He likes his dinner. The next sentence says, my students blank. I want you to think of need books. What is the subject pronoun for my students? The correct answer is they. If the subject is I, you, we, or they in the present simple tense, we don't change the verb. We keep it as is. So the correct answer is my students need books. The next sentence says, I blank think of the verb in the London. What do we do here? Again, the subject is I. Therefore, we don't change the verb. Correct answer is I live in London. For the next part, I would like for you to try to find the mistake in this sentence. He doesn't like math. What's the error here? Well, this is negative. He doesn't. That's correct. However, we don't add an s when we have doesn't in the front of it. Do he eat candy? Here we have a question. The subject of the question is he. For he, she, it. When we're making a sentence in the present simple tense, we use does not, do. So the correct answer is, does he eat candy? And finally, Sam is playing computer games. There are two present simple verbs here, and we can't have that. So the correct way to fix this sentence is to get rid of the is, so take that out and say, Sam plays computer games. Add an s because the subject is Sam, which is a he. Great job. Let's move on to the next practice. For this next practice, we are taking a look at routines. Remember, the present simple tense can be used to describe events that happen regularly. Let's take a look at first sentence. We blank the bus every day. And I want you to use the verb take. Here we see the clue word every day, which shows that this is a routine. The subject of this sentence is we. In the present simple tense, remember if the subject is I, you, we, or they, we don't change the words. Therefore, the correct answer is we take the bus every day. In the second sentence, it says he blank to school every morning. Again, a routine. The subject here is he. What do we do if the subject is he, she, or it? We add s or es to the verb. In this example, the verb is go, so we have to add es. He goes to school every morning. In the next sentence, it says, Lisa not play tennis. Here I want you to think about the negative part. Lisa is a she. The subject pronoun is she, so what do we do for the negative? We say does not or constructions doesn't play tennis. We do not add an se or es to the end of the verb. Instead, we say doesn't or does not. Now I want you to find the mistake in the next sentence. They watch TV at night. Can you figure out what's wrong with this sentence? The subject is they. Therefore, remember, we don't change the verb. We say watch. They watch TV at night. The next sentence, our question is says, does he play soccer every week? The subject of the sentence is he. To make a sentence, putting does at the beginning is okay. However, we don't put an s at the end of play. Therefore, the correct answer is to simply say, does he play soccer every week? Finally, he always forgot his book. In this case, the subject is he. Remember again, for he, she, it, we add s or es to the end of the verb. What's the verb in this sentence? It's forget. Therefore, we have to say he always forgets his book. Great job. Let's move on to the next exercise. Finally, we'll take a look at how the present simple tense can be used to describe future events. Take a look at the first sentence. It says, the airplane blank tonight. And we are looking at the verb leave. What's the subject of the sentence? The correct answer is airplane. What subject pronoun do we use for airplane? It's it. Remember, in the present simple tense, for he, she, it, we add an s or es to the verb. The verb here is leave, so we simply add an s. The correct answer is the airplane leaves tonight. In the second sentence, it says, does the movie blank soon? And we are using the verb start. What's the subject of this sentence? It's movie. And what subject pronoun do we use for movie? It's it. So it's like saying, does it blank soon? Well, it's a question. So we already have the correct word in the front, does, for he, she, it. When we're asking a question, we use does. Now all we have to do is use the same words in its best form. So the demo is start soon. We do not add an SRES here. Next sentence, we keep blank tomorrow. The subject of the sentence is Wiki. Wiki is a girl, so the subject pronoun is she. You'll remember now that for, in this case, we put works. Wiki works tomorrow. Now let's find the mistakes in this sentence below. He do leave at 3:30 p.m. Actually, there is only one mistake. Can you find it? He do leave at 3:30 p.m. We do not need the do here. We only use do in question or in the negative form. But also the subject is he. So we would use does. Either way, we don't need this here. Well, now we have the verb leave, the verb subject, the subject he. Do you know what to do? We simply change this to leaves. He leaves at 3:30 p.m. In this next sentence, they don't start school today. We have a negative symbol. They don't. That's correct. Do not is correct for subject pronoun they. However, in the negative form, we don't have to change the main verb at all. Therefore, all we will do is say, they don't start school today. No is finally. Does we eat at noon? Take a look. What's the subject or subject pronoun in the sentence? Correct. The correct answer is we. Think about the question form. Do we say do or does in the question form for the subject pronoun we? The correct answer is do. We say do. So correct way to say this sentence or question is do we eat at noon? Great job. Thank you for your attention.